we have a lot of expectations on JT, but he's experienced a lot of winning in his career so far. And obviously, we everyone wants to see him get over the hump, but 4 conference finals in a finals appearance before the age of 26 that's elite.
Who do you think's the best player in the NBA right now?
Myself.
Jayson Tatum, for players that qualify, he's been one of the worst in his tier in the NBA.
But in this league, man, if you don't have somebody who is a guaranteed statue in front of the arena post-retirement, you're probably not winning a title with him.
It's easy for me, which makes it complicated in the way we talk about him, because he's never going to be the best player in the league. He's maybe going to flirt with number 5, but he's never going to be the best player. So you're going to be kind of pining for like, oh, is he ever going to be one of those guys? And maybe there was a time you thought that could potentially happen, but as great as he is, I don't think he is. Like, he's not Jokic, he's not Luka, he's not Giannis. I'm not even sure if he's SGA.
Jayson Tatum, in my opinion, currently sits in the most awkward position in the entire NBA. I don't think I've seen a player in the league this long accomplish exactly what he has, still have the question mark surrounding his name quite like JT. Got compared to his idol, Kobe, early on, even dressed like him during a workout. Actually has an insane resume for a player under 27, but still feels like he's not really understood in the NBA discourse. Any American with the resume of JT at this specific age would probably universally be known as the new face of the league, and Tatum doesn't really get that. Like young LeBron, for instance, and I'm not really trying to make this comparison, but even when you look back at his early Cleveland days, even when he couldn't get the job done at 22, 23, 24, he was still recognized as Bron, the new face of the league, even with Kobe Bryant in the league. LeBron, in his podcast with JJ Redick, he talked about and compared he and JT, basically saying he won his first championship at 27-28, but it was still different. Pre-championship LeBron, he was still heavily regarded as either the best player in the world or somewhere within that top 2, and the MVPs he won and the votings, it screamed that. It's not all about winning a championship, because even Michael Jordan, he didn't win his first championship until he was like 27, 28, but he had MVPs, awards, and all that screamed he was either the best player or somewhere in that realm. Jayson Tatum doesn't feel anywhere near that. Even Jokic pre-championship, no one would deny him being a top 2, top 3 player, and the MVPs and the votings, again, they screamed that. Jayson Tatum, despite the resume and the crazy experience, doesn't even feel like he's anywhere near the best player in the world conversation, and maybe even the top 5. And my question is why? 5-time All-Star, 5 straight years, 3 straight years making first team All-NBA, not just an All-NBA team, first team All-NBA. In that span, the only players to make first team All-NBA 3 straight times is Tatum, Luka, and Giannis. Crazy it's not Jokic, but I digress. To add even more context, Stephen Curry has only made first team All-NBA 4 times in his entire career. That's one of the greatest players of our generation. Jayson Tatum just made it 3 straight times. Jayson Tatum, in his first 7 seasons, he's been to 5 conference championships. To add context to that, look at the company he's in. These are the players with the most conference championship appearances in their first 7 seasons. Magic, he went to 6, won 5. Larry, he went to 6, won 4. Rip Hamilton and Tayshaun Prince in their run really dominating the East, they went to a few and they won 2. Jayson Tatum is in a very rare class. So again, with all the accolades and even all the winning and all the experience, properly so, JT has been elevated into superstar status without him feeling like a true superstar, at least in my opinion. And this is how I know it's not just me. I made a poll on Sunday asking you guys, who do you have in the finals and why? Overwhelmingly, I believe like 70% of y'all picked the Mavericks. Most of the comments really had the exact same theme. I believe in Luka and Kyrie, and I really don't Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. That clearly represents the difference of a bona fide superstar that we recognize and a dude that should be, the resume screams it, but we still don't know yet. I just told y'all, Jayson Tatum and Luka Doncic, they're 2 of the 3 players that's been first team All-NBA for 3 consecutive years. We all know Luka is better, but how much better, even in the public's eye? To me, it's very telling. The other 2 guys that's been first team All-NBA for 3 consecutive years, and I'll just throw Jokic in there because we know he should be in there, they've been recognized at some point as this dude might be the best player in the league. Tatum has never got there, let's be honest. In these finals, Boston has by far the most experience. Their core guys have been together much longer, and on paper, everything screams Boston. Even if you look at the two superstars in this series, Tatum is way more experienced than Luka Doncic. Outside of his own teammate Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum has played way more playoff basketball than anybody in the league. Even since Luka has joined the league, he has 44 more playoff games than Luka. Even with all of that, most people still don't care because one guy feels like he's certified that guy, and the other one, even with all the experience, we still don't know yet. So with all the numbers of Jayson Tatum and all the stats and all the accolades, why does it feel like after 7 years, we still don't know his true place in the NBA? Well, I'll start with the main reason. Sometimes we don't even know if he's that guy on his team, and he's infamous for disappearing at the most random times. Trust me, I will get to the good of JT because he can literally change the outlook of his career in these next 3 weeks. But I'm gonna nitpick some of the moments that made me question who exactly he is. Last year against Philly, for instance, I remember that series going 7 games, and for the back half of that series, it was like Tatum was the invisible man for the first halves of those crucial games. In games 4 through 6, do y'all remember how invisible, oddly, Jayson Tatum was in those first halves? And it was very weird. In game 4, when they were up 2-1, he was 1 for 9 with 2 points in the first half. In game 5, with the series tied 2 games apiece, he was 3 for 11 in the first half. In game 6, literally with their backs against the wall, they were down 2-3 in Philly. He was 0 for 10 in the first half with 1 point. Now, their team was so good that their supposed best player had 1 point and was 0 for 10, and they still led by 7 at the half. And to Tatum's credit, he did score 16 points in the fourth quarter and carried them to that win. And in game 7, he scored the most points in game 7 history with 51, and Joel Embiid melted down. But it's still those little moments, those little pivotal moments that make you question, is JT really that dude? This year, and I understand the Celtics, they have an extremely good team, and there's nothing wrong with the good team carrying you for a game or 2. But in the first 6 games of these playoffs, Jayson Tatum wasn't playing like a superstar. He just wasn't. Extremely active on the glass, which I appreciate, and an extremely good defender, but no 30-point games in the first 7, and 4 out of his first 7 was under 40% from the field. Derek White and Jaylen Brown, they kind of carried the load for the first 6 games. And Boston, to me, they always feel like they play down to their competition in the playoffs. And it might be their play style, it might be how Joe Mazzulla designs the offense, but I have to put the majority of it on the best player, supposedly Jayson Tatum. This is what I mean when I say they feel like they play down to their competition in the playoffs. And at times, it feels like they have an identity crisis and they don't really have that guy. In the last 2 regular seasons, Boston has a home record of 69-13. In the playoffs, in that exact span, you know what their record at home is? 11-8. In 82 games in the regular season at home, they've lost 13 games. In the playoffs at home, in 19 games, they've damn near lost half with 8. Some of those home losses consist of Atlanta last year and Philly last year. 1 game without Joel Embiid. Both games last year against Miami at home, they got their chains snatched. This year without Jimmy Butler against Miami. That's playing down to your competition in the playoffs. Denver, for instance, they're second with 15 losses at home in the last 2 regular seasons. In the playoffs, it translates. This year they got, killed by Minnesota, but outside of that, they're still 15-4 in that span. That's mainly because they have that bona fide, no questions asked guy. Now on to the good of Jayson Tatum and why I feel like it's superstar in there that needs to be unlocked. Believe it or not, he's been pretty excellent in playoff elimination games. Look at his resume. 2 years ago against Milwaukee and the defending champion Giannis in Milwaukee, game 6, down 2-3 in Milwaukee. He scores 46 points and outduels Giannis's 44 points to win game 6 and win game 7. That was one of those I'm him moments from Jayson Tatum, and it's not to be forgotten. Game 7 last year against Philly, after game 6 in the fourth quarter, he scored 16 points to get them to game 7. He scored 51 points, the most ever in a game 7. Again, one of those I'm him moments. Even as a rookie, and people don't talk about this enough, when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward got hurt, those were supposed to be the 2 best players. That young team, without their two best players, Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, and a 19-year-old Tatum leading them in scoring in the playoffs, took down Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons, and almost LeBron. Even in that finals run they had 2 years ago. And I know some people use this as a knock on JT because they were up 2-1 against Golden State. And 2 of the 3 straight losses they had against Golden State were in Boston, and that is pretty bad. I still give Tatum a pass because he was 24. That was his first finals, and the run to the finals was actually insane. Sweeping and ending the KD Kyrie fiasco. Nobody gives it credit now, but at the time, nobody saw that coming, and that was a revenge series. Beating and dethroning the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis. I know Chris Middleton wasn't there, but Giannis was going insane, and that 46 Tatum had in Game 6, that was crucial. Beating the first seeded Miami Heat in 7 games, with Game 7 obviously being in Miami. Like, that championship run to me was crazy, so I give Tatum credit for that. Jayson Tatum, in the history of the NBA, has the 4th most playoff wins of any player under the age of 27. Every player, literally every player in that top 5 played with the MVP. Everybody except Jayson Tatum. He was leading his teams. Jayson Tatum has been the most, and I literally mean the most, durable and reliable player in the league since he's been in the NBA. Combining his regular season and his playoff minutes, he has by far the most. So this year, it's it. Like, this year is it. I'm not going to have any more questions about Jayson Tatum. In these next 2 weeks, I'm going to know everything I need to know. And to me, it's perfect because he's going against a guy that's recognized as that dude and low-key a young rival. Every time we do a poll for the last 4 or 5 years for the best players under 24 or the best players under 25, it's normally JT and Luka at the top. Both 5-time All-Stars in the exact same time span, both closest championship run ending in the exact same year against the exact same team, both 2, as I said, of the only 3 players that make 3 consecutive first-team All-NBAs, and both docked as the next young guy at some point of their career. One guy is just globally known and celebrated and recognized as certified that dude, Luka, and the other we just don't know yet, and that's what makes it perfect. We still don't precisely know Jayson Tatum's place in the NBA, and in 2 weeks against the perfect opponent, we will. If you guys like this video, please like this video. If you made it this far, comment what you think about Jayson Tatum. I want to get the sentiment of what you guys feel about a player that's crazy decorated, but he doesn't feel like he get the recognition by the fans or the media, or at least social media, that his resume would scream he deserves. Turn on my post notifications. I will have a lot of content coming up. Follow my social media sites. Do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.